Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Got a crossout video for us today, guys. Now in today's video, we are going to be going over the hybrid. This is the last weapon in the most recent battle pass that we have yet to cover. Now the main reason I wanted to do this video today is because it seems very much that the hybrid is basically dead on arrival. On PlayStation, at least, there are zero interesting builds with this gun, and there are barely any like hype around it at all. And that's incredibly rare for a weapon that's, been around. Battle Pass came out like not even 2 weeks ago, I think, at this point. So it's brand new, and yet there's just no buzz around this thing at all. I have seen far more Coraxes and far more of the Shredders in PvP than I have this thing. In fact, I don't think I've actually seen anyone use the hybrid besides me today, on my team or against me in the last, like, since the gun came out. And the main reason for that is because I just don't think the idea of a machine gun and a grenade launcher is a good combination. It looks like a cool thing on paper, but in reality, the guns just don't play the same way. That's the biggest problem. So, firstly, you've got the machine gun. The machine guns in Crossout are meant mostly as stripping weapons because they have high degrees of accuracy. You aim for the like weakest part of the enemy build. Now, normally that's like weapons, the enemy's weapons, or like a generator or something because they have that accuracy. But the grenade launchers, they don't play like that. Grenade launchers have very low projectile speed and very poor accuracy. So with a grenade launcher, you're basically just aiming center mass at the weapon. You do not have the accuracy to aim at the enemy's weapons. Now, that's going to be a huge problem because the perk of the hybrid kind of makes it so that you have to switch between mode. Basically, it's got like the warrior perk, but with the gun. So certain parameters on one of the machine or one of the weapons, like the machine gun, will give you extra damage on the grenade launcher and vice versa. Meaning that, and it's up to 40% extra damage too. So if you want to get meaningful damage out of this weapon, you need to switch between modes often, and that's going to be a big problem because if you go up against an enemy, for example, and you want to deal capping damage to it, then the damage of the machine gun isn't really that impressive. But on the other hand, if you go up against an enemy that has a very low durability weapons, like, a Helican, for example, you're going to want to shoot them in the machine gun mode, but eventually you're going to have to switch to the grenade launcher, and the grenade launcher simply doesn't have the accuracy to switch between weapons. And if you just stay in either the machine gun or the grenade launcher mode, then you're losing out on 40% accuracy, and this thing just doesn't really have the damage. I've been testing out in the garage, and the damage on the machine gun mode just seems very low in general, even when you get the 40%. The damage on the grenade launcher is fine, to be honest, but the projectile speed isn't particularly great, so it just doesn't really work. I think personally, if you want like a hybrid weapon, a machine gun mixed with a shotgun would have been a far better idea. Just because machine guns and shotguns, they both aim for the weapons of the enemy or the weakest part of the enemy. Big problem you're gonna have with this is that machine guns has to shoot the weakest part, but a grenade launcher just doesn't have the accuracy to actually land on the weakest part. So it's just a generous gun, and it just doesn't really synergize. Another big issue with the gun is that it's got about 590 dura, which isn't bad, but it's got quite a large hitbox. This thing is almost twice the height of a Reaper, for example, and the Reaper has like 560 dura, so it's going to be quite squishy, and you're going to need to run it with, say, an Omamori, so there's no point of you getting, like, there's no chance of you getting extra damage out of the thing from, say, a Jackie, for example. I've managed to find probably the best build I could for this thing on the exhibition. We've just got it on a Griffon hover just to get some mobility. 10-second cloak and 2 Aquillos just so we can actually squeeze as much damage out of this weapon as possible. I don't have particularly high hopes for this thing, just on from what I've seen in the garage, but we'll run it in the usual 20 minutes of PvP now just to give it a proper test out, and I hope you all enjoy. Yeah, so that is it for the hybrid machine gun slash grenade launcher. This is definitely the worst weapon in this most recent battle pass. It needs several massive buffs before this thing is even remotely viable, in my opinion. I would not recommend getting it at all in its current state. So yeah, if you're looking for big battle pass weapons, I would spend your bearings on something else. Personally, I'm probably going to spend mine on the Korax just because it seems like a cool build to use at like lower power score. But yeah, as for the hybrid, it's pretty much terrible. I've hated this thing today, if I'm honest. But yeah, thank you all for watching, guys. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will catch you for tomorrow's.